Welcome to Bibliophiles Anonymous, episode 48. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jess.
And tonight we'll be talking about something that we have been looking forward to for a fairly long time now, and that is the Mortal Instruments movie.
Yes.
And
I'm torn between strangling someone and writing angry letters.
This is going to be an interesting show. To say that we're slightly disappointed would be kind of a mild way to put it. So, yeah. But we will go into a lot more detail. Oh, just you wait, we'll go into a lot more detail. Just so everybody knows, make sure that it is clear, this will be a spoilerific show.
Yes,
both
so
with the movie and the book. So if you don't want to be spoiled for either one, then listen to another episode and then come back after you've seen the movie and read the book and listen to this one, because otherwise you'll get mad at us. So, yeah, just a warning right out there. But before we get started on the movie, because, do we have a lot to say about the movie?
Yes, we do.
Especially you.
Yes.
If your Facebook messages have anything to do with what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's a fair indication of how.
For the past week, all of a sudden, my phone just kept dinging at me, and the little blue icon popped up there, and it's another thing. It's this other another 3 paragraphs from Jess saying something about the movie. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm frustrated.
Well, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't reread the book after seeing the movie. That just, made all of the errors glare at me. And I had to share with someone who understood.
I do understand. And for the most part, I agree. So, we will talk about that in depth. But first off, let's talk about some of the things that we are reading right now.
I just finished City of Bones.
To torture yourself?
Yes. And right now, I'm torn between going ahead and reading City of Ashes or skipping ahead and reading Clockwork Princess, because I haven't read Clockwork Princess yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to read it, but in a way, now that I've read City of Bones, I want to read all of the Mortal Instruments books as well.
Right.
So I'm kind of torn as to what I'm going to do. I haven't decided yet. So I haven't really started anything.
So Clockwork Princess is the 3rd book in the Infernal Devices?
Yes,
okay.
And it just came out a few months ago.
Yeah, okay, that's right. That's the new one.
Yes.
The newish one.
And hopefully, she'll be true to her word, and this one will actually be a trilogy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that is actually going to be the last Infernal Devices, and then we're going to get the Dark Artifices.
Which is the sequel, basically, to the Mortal Instruments.
Yes, it takes place 5 years after the end of the Mortal Instruments series.
Okay.
And she said that Clary and Jace would probably make appearances, although the story is not focused on them at all.
Okay.
We're going to the other coast. We're going to be at the Institute in, I believe it's Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, and the Shadowhunter Codex comes out this year, I believe.
Oh, so a lot of stuff going on.
And I am ridiculously excited about the Shadowhunter Codex because there's going to be lots of runes in there.
Right.
And I want a rune tattoo. And when I get the Shadowhunter Codex, I can actually see the runes and what they mean and decide which one I want.
Very nice.
So, yeah. I know I don't want angelic power, but I don't know which one I do want. I've seen several of them, but she says there's going to be over 40 different runes in the Shadowhunter Codex.
Wow. Okay.
So,
all right.
I'm pretty stoked about that. But yeah, I'm not actively reading anything at the moment. I need to, since I was off work today and I'm off tomorrow, I need to read another chapter in the Silmarillion and listen to the corresponding episode and work on progress there. But I've been playing Lego Lord of the Rings all day.
Those are so much fun.
Yeah, I got cracked up last night. I think it was last night. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. When Lurtz shot Boromir with a banana.
See, the books were written with such seriousness, and now we have them shooting bananas at one another. There's just something wrong about that.
Well, at first he shot him with an arrow, then he shot him with a broom, then he shot him with a banana, and the banana's the one that killed him.
Of those 3 things, I would not have picked the banana to be the lethal one, but hey.
No. It was so funny to see Boromir running around with this banana sticking out of his chest. It was pretty funny.
God.
And apparently, Haldir's elves, Lego elves can't march in step. They don't know how.
Oh.
When they showed up at Helm's Deep, they were just walking however they wanted to walk. I'm like, well, okay, you're supposed to be elves. You're supposed to be, these perfect disciplined troops, and you can't even walk in step. Come on now.
That is disappointing.
Yeah. Get with it now.
Yeah.
But I've actually finished the story part of the game. I, got to Mordor and destroyed the ring, and now I've got to go back and do free play on everything and see if I can get 100%. And let me just tell you, this one is a lot harder than the Lego Harry Potter games.
Oh, really?
It has a different structure as to how you play each level. And a lot of the stuff is in areas that are harder to get to.
Oh, okay.
And I like to have... I still did not figure out how to get out of Minas Tirith.
Once you come, you can never leave.
Apparently, because I'm up on the little thing that Denethor runs off of and dies.
Right.
I'm up there, and I can climb up to this top tower, and I can light the signal fire, and I can come back down, but I cannot get out of this area. If you jump off the edge, you die. And there's no doorway out, but yet I've got to go other places. I'm like, how? I don't understand. So finally, I just used the map stone and transported myself to Hobbiton. I'm like, screw this, I'll mess with it. But yeah, I'm not. It's either gonna be City of Ashes or Clockwork Princess is gonna be the next thing I start, or Bones of Paris.
Right.
I should probably start that.
Yeah, because we're talking about that book next week.
Yeah, I should probably read that.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
It's on my phone, so.
Okay.
I can start reading it, and I can read it on my breaks at work.
Well, I am actually pleased with myself, and I will tell you why. I am 83% done with Bitter Blue.
Yay!
I have been trying to read this book for months now. And it's not that I would start the first couple chapters, and then, I don't know, something shiny would catch my eye, and then I'd go and, read something else. Last thing was the Hunger Games trilogy, which I had to read all 3 of them because I could not stop. Yeah. But I finally once I finished Hunger Games and that was out of the way, and I knew we were talking about the movie today, so it wasn't like there wasn't something that I had to pick up and read right away because I was going to be on a deadline. I'm like, I'm going to read this thing and I'm going to finish it because I've been saying that I'm reading this for I don't even know how long now. I keep saying that it's on my currently reading list, and it's not because I'm not actually doing it. But I had to start over again, obviously, because I couldn't remember what all had happened in the first couple of chapters. But I gotta say, it is actually really good.
I'll get around to reading those at some point.
I think this one might be my favorite.
Wow.
And I liked the other 2 a lot. But this one, it's Bitter Blue's story after her father was killed. And so she became queen when she was 10 years old, which is a great time to inherit a country when you're 10 and don't have any idea how to run said country. And, by the way, the entire country has been basically under the mental control and torture of your insane father. So good luck with that. But she has people that help her. She has Katza and Poe are still there, and they helped her out. And so now she's 18 and basically still trying to deal with the fallout of trying to get her country back working again after everything that her father had done.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. And it's also one of the things that I really like is how complicated they've made it. It's because so many people have been damaged mentally by what Lek had done to them that she has a team of advisors that her uncle, who's the Leonid King, he had helped her pick out her advisors and everything, and so she's got them to help her, but none of them can really even remember what all the bad stuff that happened. because of the way that Lek was able to control their minds. They don't have a lot of memories of it, and when they try and remember it, it kind of makes them shut down in a way because it's painful or because they're frustrated because they can't remember and they know something bad happened, but they don't know what. And so she's got that to deal with. She has a whole country that just, some of them are really struggling, and then they have these whole factions about these are the people that want to kind of move on and kind of rebuild the country, and then there's a part of them that are afraid of changing anything because they don't really know what this new world means, so they're kind of afraid. So you have the people that are trying to rebuild and the people who are trying to keep things the same, and it's all complicated. And I think if this situation were real, then it would be that complicated. So I don't know, I'm really enjoying it, and Bitter Blue is a really cool character. I mean, you can't help but feel sorry for the poor kid, but she's gonna make a really good ruler once she figures out all of this mess, because you can tell that she really cares about her people.
Yeah.
And so I think that once I'm curious, because it's hard. This is a weird book because in a way there's not really a villain. I mean, there's some people that are kind of working against her, but the main villain is already dead, and you're just still trying to work against all the fallout from that.
Yeah.
And maybe there's going to be another kind of villain that's kind of in here, but so far we haven't really seen one, which is weird. And like I said, I'm 83% through it, and we don't even for sure know if there's another bad guy other than the one that's already dead 2 books ago. It's strange, but it's good.
Well, it. That 83% in would kind of be an awkward place to introduce a new one.
Well, I mean, we have had some people who, like, she trusted, and turns out she shouldn't have trusted them because they were some of the people that were working against her. Like, one of the things she wanted to make sure was that the people in her kingdom could read, because a lot of them she found out were illiterate, and so even if she was trying to pass new laws or sign all of these charters to make changes, none of them, or a lot of them, didn't know what that meant because they couldn't read. So she wanted to make sure that the schools were up and that everybody could read, and you wouldn't think that something like that would cause so many problems, but there's a lot of people who were trying to prevent that because they were afraid that if they could read, then they would be able to write, and they would be able to tell more stories about all of the bad things that had happened, and they didn't want to tell those stories. They wanted those stories to go away. They wanted to forget everything.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
If you don't learn from your mistakes, you'll repeat them.
Yeah. And that's I don't want to say that's a theme, but it's kind of a big part of it, because another thing that Lek did was he got rid of a lot of records, and so there's a lot of books that were destroyed and a lot of histories. He was basically trying to rewrite history so that the kingdom would be exactly what he wanted. And that's another reason why a lot of the people just don't know what's going on. They don't understand anything, and like I said, they can't remember things, or a lot of things that happened when Lek was ruling. And it's all really complicated, but it's a really nice complicated, because like I said, if they tried to make it too simple, that would feel cheap.
Yeah.
And so something like this should be this complicated and intricate. And one of the things I really, really liked is that her mother obviously bore the brunt of a lot of Lek's madness and the weird grace that he had to control people. So one of the things that she did is she did a lot of embroidery. And so Bitter Blue has like these trunks and trunks of embroidered bed sheets and scarves and like anything that you could put an embroidered like edging on. There, it was all over the place. And they would take these pretty little pictures of flowers or whatever. And she's since found out that every single one of those embroidered pieces is a code.
Oh.
And so the whole time that her mother was sitting there and just looking like she was enjoying embroidering, because that was something that was a safe pastime that Lek would never look twice at, because she's a woman. Of course she's going to be doing embroidery, because that's apparently what women do. She was actually writing down as much of her history as she could remember. And that's why there's so much of it. It's like that
Wow.
everyone, she's like pulling out the curtain, she's looking at the curtain. I mean, it's funny because it's all over the place and nobody looks twice at it. But it's like little things like that. And like there's this librarian who his grace is that he reads something once and he can remember it. So he has been, yeah, and so he has been trying to remember like all of the books that were destroyed and writing them down by hand. And so he's a little grumpy, and that's part of the reason why.
Librarians are grumpy, apparently. It's a thing. The librarian of Cadogan House and the Chicagoland Vampires has always been kind of grumpy.
Yeah, what is it? Because if I worked in a library, I would be happy. I would love that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I considered it as a career choice, but then I found out you have to have a master's degree, and I was like, no.
Yeah, and apparently those jobs are really hard to find because once people get them, they tend to stay.
Until they're dead.
Yeah. Oh well. Maybe someday.
So, yeah, I was just like, oh, I'm not sure about this master's degree thing, so let's pursue something else. I mean, really, you have to have a master's degree to shelf books?
Well, no, you can get like a part-time basic job there, but in order to do some like the really in-depth stuff, you have to have one. Especially if you're going to work in like a research library or a specialized library or something like that. It's something I looked into too, but I just didn't do it. Anyway, so should we talk about this movie or what?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Should we apologize in advance if we make anybody mad?
Why not?
Yeah, if the only people we're probably going to make mad are those who have watched this movie and have not read the books.
Yeah.
Because if you've read the book and then seen this movie, then you're probably going to share some of our complaints.
Right.
Or, all of them. Probably not all of them. I'm a little pickier than most.
Really? I would never have guessed that about you.
I know. I try so hard to keep it hidden. Oh, me. Yeah, so City of Bones. I was so hopeful because Cassandra Clare has been on set and she has been posting on Tumblr about how great this looks, and I was hopeful. Even though I had reservations about casting, I was hopeful.
Right.
Because if she created it, it lived in her head.
So you would think if she was happy with it, then she would be. It would be good because that's
Yeah.
what she did.
Right. Unfortunately, I was okay. When I went to see it, it had been a while since I had read the book, and I wasn't blown away. I was okay, and then I read the book again, and oh my god, I was so upset. So upset because the first quarter of the book they completely butchered. They did it out of order. They changed things. Like, okay, at the beginning we see it's Clary's birthday and she drags Simon to Pandemonium, which is somewhere she's never been before. But in the book they went there all the time.
Yeah.
Clary loved it, Simon hated it. And this whole seeing the angelic power rune everywhere thing. I mean, she randomly starts drawing this. I can understand that they put that in there as a visual representation so that her mother would know it was time to visit Magnus Bane again. But in the book, it was just every 2 years. There was no, oh, it's starting to wear off. I should go take her to the Warlock.
Right. No, I that was something that really, really confused me because I was trying to figure out where they were going with it. And I guess it distracted me for a part of the movie because I didn't really, I don't want to say I didn't pay a lot of attention, but as far as the opening went, I was okay with the fact that they had put a couple things out of order because I think instead of going to the club first, because the book opens when they're trying to get in the club, right?
Yes.
That's like the first scene. Is them in line and she sees the demon that she doesn't realize is a demon, but she sees him going in and yeah. So when they opened up with her leaving and you got to see her mom and Luke, which I thought that was kind of nice in a way because you don't get to see them together much, if at all, until, I mean, then you find out that her mom's been kidnapped or disappears or whatever. So I mean, I kind of liked that they were showing them a little bit, so you could kind of see what Clary's life was like before everything happened. And they went to hear the really bad poetry reading, which I thought was funny, you know, and that was okay. But yeah, the fact that they went to the Pandemonium Club and it was like this brand new thing, that was the first thing that really started to bug me, because I'm sitting there thinking, no, they went there all the time because Clary liked it and she was drawn to it, and that was because there was a lot of downworlder activity that was there, and she was kind of a part of that secret world, but she didn't know it at the time. So the whole drawing the rune everywhere just was confusing to me.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. And
now once they got into the club, I started liking it a little bit better, because I liked how she first saw the shadow hunters. I actually thought that part was done really well. I loved Isabel's outfit. I loved how they did her whip. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Actually, for the most part, I thought all of the visual effects in this were really good.
They were.
Yeah.
But, you know, well, a lot of my biggest problems, aside from, you know, blatant changes to the story that I'm still not entirely sure why they did that way, is casting.
Yeah.
I had reservations about Jamie Campbell Bower as Jace, and I'm not sold, but I'm like you, I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I think it's the fact that whoever wrote the screenplay cut almost all of Jace's snark out of it.
Yeah, see, that was the main problem that I had with pretty much the entire movie, was that the book, you deal with a lot of really serious stuff and really intense scenes and situations, but all of it is cut with this really quippy, snarky, sarcastic, funny dialogue. And there was next to none of it in the movie.
Right. I
mean, that's what makes these books so much fun to read, is because you have all the adventure, but it's also got this sense of humor running through the whole thing.
That's what made me fall in love with Jace.
Yeah.
Was his smart mouth. You know?
Uh-huh.
The fact that he was so snarky.
Because I think he had, and I know you weren't fond of him just looks-wise, but I think he had potential, because I really liked Lily Collins as Clary. I thought that she did a very good job, and I thought that the two of them together had really good chemistry. So I think if they had left some more of...
Because they're dating in real life.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They started dating after they met on set.
Okay, that's kind of adorable. Anyway, but, well, however it works, I mean, it works. And so if they had put in more of Jace's personality, I think you would have been better with him, because the two of them would have worked so well together.
Yeah, well, you know, and I was kind of not thrilled about Lily Collins, but she did okay. Her eyebrows drove me crazy.
You and eyebrows.
I'm sorry. She needed... Look, if they had have at least dyed them to match her hair, it wouldn't have been so bad. Or, you know, pluck them or something. But anyway, I was okay. She did okay. She did good. I was actually pleased with her portrayal of Clary.
I was pleased with her portrayal, I can't even talk, portrayal of Clary. I was pleased with Simon.
Yes, I think that the kid they got to play Simon was perfect.
His name is Robert Sheehan, I think.
Yeah, he was one of the few that I think they nailed.
Yeah, he was pretty much, of all of the casting, I think he was the best.
Yeah, definitely. He had Simon. He was great as Simon. I think the girl who played Isabel would have been fine. I was really neither here nor there about her, but Isabel wasn't nearly enough of a bitch.
No, that was okay. Let's just talk about some of the characterization. And to be honest, this is nothing really about the actors themselves. This is what the actors were given to do.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that if you told Jemima West that, okay, she's going to be really mean and she's going to especially be really condescending to Simon and everybody else except for Jason Alec, basically, and Hodge, but the rest of the time she is just going to be mean and like you are the dirt underneath her shoes. She would do that. But instead, like towards the end, the whole time, like her and Simon are just like buddy buddy the whole time. I'm like, really? She hates Simon.
Yes.
She thinks that he's worthless.
She's not supposed to change the way she acts towards Simon for a few books yet.
Yeah. And
I mean, and she was supposed to be incredibly bitchy to Clary, too.
Uh-huh. And there was only one time where she was even slightly, and that was when she brought her some clothes to wear, and she just kind of like threw them down and was like something like, I doubt any of them will fit, or something like that. I mean, and at first I'm like, okay, that's good. But then that was it. I'm like, that's the extent of her bitchiness. Have you read the book, really?
Yeah.
Because in the book, I did not like her.
No, not at first.
And
I didn't.
in the movie, I didn't really know enough about her to like or dislike her, really, but...
Right. She was sort of a non-entity.
Yeah.
Okay, I love Aidan Turner. I loved Aidan Turner when he was on Being Human. I loved him as Keeley in The Hobbit. I love Aidan Turner. I still don't think he was the right person to play Luke. He did a good job. I just still don't think that he was the right person for the role, because the woman playing Clary's mother was 40 years old, which is about the age she didn't look 40.
Mm-mm.
But you would expect Clary's mother and someone who was of an age with her when they were young Shadowhunters. And this brings me to another point. They were also almost the same age as Hodge.
True.
And Hodge looked like an old man.
Yes.
While Jocelyn and Luke don't.
Right.
So, I mean, they're all supposed to be of an age. And Valentine the same age. But the guy playing Luke is 30 years old. I think, and he looks... They covered his up with a beard. Don't get me wrong. They covered his up pretty well with the beard. The one that annoyed me was Kevin Zegers as Alec. I love Kevin Zegers. I've seen several of his movies. And it wasn't that bad, except in some of his close-ups, you could tell he was nowhere near being, 18, 19 years old?
Yeah.
You could tell he was considerably old. He's 29 in real life, I think. And you could tell in some of his close-ups that he wasn't a teenager.
Yeah.
So
see, that one didn't bother me as much, just because he wasn't that important. And see, now he kept his attitude towards everybody. Yeah. And so acting wise, I was okay with that, and I didn't even really notice the age thing. That wasn't too bad. I'll tell you the casting choice, or at least the portrayal, that disappointed me. There were two of them that disappointed me the most.
I bet I can guess.
The first one would be Godfrey Gao as Magnus Bane.
Yeah.
What in the hell? I mean, okay. If you want to talk about characters who are supposed to be sarcastic and snarky and just at least have some sort of personality, it's Magnus Bane. Right. That's why he gets his own offshoot series that Cassie Clare and Maureen Johnson and whoever the other one is writing, the Bane Chronicles, is because he's an interesting character and he has such a checkered past. And when you first meet him at the party, I mean, he's not really taking anything seriously. He's kind of joking around and he's kind of treating the Shadowhunters kind of like crap, which was fun because they're so used to being better than everyone else. But the whole way through, especially with Alec, he's kind of, there's this, I don't even know what it is, but the way that he was in this movie, I mean, there was no personality at all.
Not really.
There was nothing. I mean, he was cardboard.
I still want to know why he wasn't wearing pants, but...
And that was also really strange. And the whole way he's, like, very, very serious, very almost monotone about everything.
And where was the sparkly blue hair?
I don't know.
I know, and I got crucified on Tumblr for this, because Magnus Bane is supposed to be part Asian.
And that's fine.
But I got crucified on Tumblr for saying I thought Adam Lambert would do a good job in the role.
And I agree.
Because Adam Lambert's not part Asian, and Magnus Bane is supposed to be part Asian, so you have to have somebody part. I'm like, oh my god, would you chill the hell out? People on Tumblr are touchy. Let me just tell you.
Apparently so.
I have learned between the Magnus Bane thing and the Theodore is an asshat thing, you can't criticize things on Tumblr. Anyway.
See, I'm not on Tumblr, so I don't pay any attention to that. But
usually don't even roll my eyes and go on, but.
And okay, so you can have the character if he's part Asian, and I don't even remember that in the books. Maybe it was stated in the book. I don't remember.
It was. I did know. I never noticed it. I didn't realize that it was in there. I didn't remember it being there when I got attacked. But when I reread it, I did. There was a sentence in there that, judging by the shape of his eyes, he was at least part Asian or something like that.
Okay. Well, and that's fine, but depending on, I mean, he's really, really old. I mean, he's centuries old. So, it'd be depending on how far back in his history the part Asian is. I mean, he might look very Asian or he may not. I don't think that was that big of a deal. And I would have been perfectly fine with this guy. I mean, he was certainly pleasant to look at.
Yeah.
But that's not why everybody was so intrigued with Magnus Bane. It was because of the way he acted and because of the way he would just like throw these little off comments like about how he was, I can't go to Peru. I was banned from Peru. And you're like, what? How does one get banned from Peru?
How do you get banned from a country?
Yeah, and he would just like throw off these little things that sound completely absurd, but they're not. They're very serious. But he was always kind of cracking jokes at the Shadowhunters' expense because he felt they needed to be taken down a peg.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, they did. And
especially Jason.
Yeah, and he enjoyed doing that. But this guy, and maybe, like, again, I don't know whether to blame the actor or blame the direction, because an actor can only do so much if they're being told how to do something a certain way. And we barely saw him.
Well,
we saw him at the party briefly when he basically said, okay, exposition dump, boom, here we go. And that was his whole point there. And then we see him when he comes in to help Alec, and then basically he's like, here's a list of stuff, go get it. And that's it. Okay, well, you could have done more with that.
Yeah, there's blame to be spread around, because not only do you have the actor and the director, we also have the screenwriter that we can lay blame at.
Also true.
But yeah, I wasn't very happy with that one either, and I really, again, I like Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, but he's not Valentine.
No.
Valentine is supposed to be smooth, polished, urbane, blonde, not some dude with these weird funky braids who's dressed like a biker.
Well, yeah, I mean, dressing as a biker, they kind of all did because they wore so much leather, and that's fine, whatever. But I think we talked about this before. It was like when we were picturing Valentine, we were picturing Lucius Malfoy.
Yes.
Basically. We were picturing Jason Isaacs in his blonde wig.
Yes.
Because that's basically, and even the blonde thing, I could get over the blonde thing.
If they got the character right.
I'm not as picky as far as the looks. I don't really care if they get the look completely right, because in a lot of cases that's hard to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can overlook some things.
Yeah. Only some things, though. But he's supposed to be, but like you said, he's supposed to be very cultured and very in control of everything, or at least appearing to be very in control of everything.
And very talker.
Yeah, and he was just like yelling and all kinds of outbursts of.
And what in the name of the Silent Brothers was with this pentagram in the library of the Institute and letting in the demons? That didn't happen in the book.
Because they needed an action sequence at the end of the movie?
Well, why didn't they keep it the way it was in the book, where Clary figures out that Valentine's hiding out on this island and they go attack his stronghold?
Because that's boring. It's in the book.
I'm just like, because then we get the Forsaken. They're not fighting demons, they're fighting the Forsaken. Oh, by the way, if you put runes on a human, it's either going to kill them or turn them into a Forsaken. But let's just cut that out of the movie. That's not important.
It's not important at all. Okay, we've skipped over a lot of stuff. I'm gonna go back just a little bit. All right, let's talk. These runes, they're very important to the whole mythos of the Shadow Hunters, and as you said, you're very excited about the book that's coming out that's going to have some stuff about the runes, and they're described when they're on on their skin, that they've got like a lot of marks, and that they're basically like these really like light spidery looking things. So why in the movie do they look like they've been drawn on with a big thick Sharpie? Why?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, they're not. I don't want to say they're not noticeable, but they're not like these big, thick black lines all over them. Am I wrong?
Well, no.
Okay. However, I did want to say one thing before we move on too much. I mean, we're kind of bouncing all over the place here, but that's all right. I liked. This is something I liked. I know, amazing. I liked the fact that they showed Jocelyn getting attacked.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because you could see her resourcefulness in, working or fighting, because at first you're thinking, well, she's just this artist and living in this little kind of bohemian apartment in Brooklyn. Okay. But no, she's kind of a badass. And, taking out these guys who you find out aren't just guys, but, although I do have to say I had to lean over to my mom. I went to see this with my mom, and there's this one point where she's fighting off the guys with this big heavy frying pan.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help it. My mind flashed to the Disney movie Tangled.
Yeah.
Where you if you've seen that?
Yes.
Where the guy who's like, ends up having to fight this guy with a sword, and he's fighting with a frying pan. All of a sudden he's like, whoa, I gotta get me one of these. And then the very end, he's like, frying pans, who knew? And so the whole time I was seeing that where she's fighting with a frying pan, I'm thinking, frying pans, who knew? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just where my mind went. But
I think I want to see that in theaters, actually.
Oh, Tangled?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Disney movies now. I love that so much.
Yes, I do too.
But I liked seeing this scene where she's there and then she's actually calling Clary. I mean, in the book you see the phone call because Clary gets the phone call, but you don't actually see what happens to Jocelyn.
See, here's my thing. I can understand. Okay, we've said this many times on the podcast before. When you go from words on a page to pictures on a screen,
mm-hmm.
things have to be changed.
Yes.
And as long as there is a reason, a logical reason for these changes, I can live with it. I'm with you. I like the fact that they put in showing her mother fighting off Pangborn and Blackwell. That didn't bother me because I can see why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's changes that they did that I can see no fathomable reason for that pissed me off. Like, when they went to the Hotel de Mort to rescue Simon, that was supposed to be just Clary and Jace. Why did they have Isabel and Alec with them?
The more the merrier.
But yet, when they went back to see Madame Dorothea to get the tarot cards, that was supposed to be all of them, yet it was just Clary and Jace.
I really like the lady who played Madame Dorothea, though.
I do too. I'm still not entirely sure where this whole, music reveals demons thing came from, though.
Because Bach was a shadow hunter, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that was supposed to be like another, well, wouldn't be visual, but, I mean, kind of visual, kind of auditory thing to throw in there. I don't know. I mean...
Well, when you delete the fact that she's got a portal in her apartment and that the entire building is a sanctuary and this demon that possessed her wasn't really possessing her, most of his essence was still on the other side of the portal, you kind of have to do something.
Yeah.
But just left the portal in her apartment where it belonged instead of in the Institute. Like I said, it's the changes that I don't see the point. I don't see why they did that make me mad.
Yeah, I agree. Although before we go off, I want to say that when Clary came back to the apartment and it was all trashed and everything, and she has to fight the demon, that thing was scary.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
That thing was disgusting and creepy and awesome. That was... Like I said, the CGI was really, really cool.
The visual effects department gets an A+.
Yeah, everything looked good. Um, I liked the scene, the way that they did it, or visually anyway, in the greenhouse with
Yeah.
all the flowers. I thought that was really pretty. And oh my gosh, I loved the Institute library.
Yes.
Oh, so pretty.
Look, I wanted to live in the Institute ever since the first time I read the book. I want to be a shadow hunter and I want to live in the Institute. Look, I will take Hodge's place and never leave.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a curse that he's not allowed to leave the Institute. I'm like, oh, curse me.
Yeah.
You go right ahead. What do I have to do in order to earn that curse? Because I'll do it.
Join Valentine and let the clave curse you.
Okay.
Yeah, see, this is another thing. They left out so much of the backstory and the history and what the shadow hunters actually are. Did they even call them Nephilim in the movie?
Once.
I couldn't remember if they did or not.
I think when they first arrive at Magnus's party, I think he says something about that he didn't remember inviting any Nephilim.
I mean, and they don't explain why that's important, what the Nephilim are, why the shadow hunters are Nephilim, what the mortal instruments are other than the cup. And that Valentine wants this cup because it can create new shadow hunters. Well, they leave out the part that it only works on children, and he may kill half of them in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, they left out, they said, they talked about the angel. I don't remember how they pronounced it in the movie. I always thought it was Raziel.
Yeah, I think they called him Raziel or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, it's supposed to be Raziel.
They put a different emphasis on a different syllable.
Yeah. Anyway, they didn't really explain that Jonathan Shadowhunter basically called this angel up, and this angel made him into the first Shadowhunter. They kind of left that out. They didn't tell about the mortal sword and the mirror, which you really don't need to know that much about them other than that they exist.
Right.
At this point, they're going to be important later on, though, and they should have been introduced.
At least mentioned.
Yeah. And how... Jace did not recognize the Mortal Cup the first time they saw it on the tarot deck. He did in the movie, but not in the book. In the book, they didn't figure it out until over halfway through the book. Clary figures out that that's where her mother hid the cup.
Right.
But in the movie, as soon as Jace saw it, he's like, "Ooh, that's the Mortal Cup." I was like, where did that come from? I did like the Silent Brothers.
I thought the whole City of Bones section was strong. Although
Yes.
I have to admit their voices sounded different than what I was expecting. They were much louder.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be more of like a creepy whisper, and instead it was like whatever. I don't know. I mean, it was like really, really like foghorny, and I was like, no, I felt it was more like a whisper that was really quiet, but that you could hear every word, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But they were appropriately creepy looking, and going into the whole City of Bones and the ritual that they did, I thought that was really cool. And then you got to see the mortal sword, or not the the replica, or no, that they have the real one, right? Hanging, the one that was hanging from the ceiling, wasn't that supposed to be the real one?
Yeah, I believe so. And this is another one. This is one of my minor annoyances, but this really annoyed me because again, there's no point in it. There's a Latin phrase from Dante's Inferno. No. What's it from? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's in the chapter heading, and it's Facilis Descensus Averno, which is easy as the descent to hell. It's not from the Inferno. It's from something else. It's from a famous work. Maybe it is from the Inferno. Anyway, they changed the order of the words when they put them above the entrance to the City of Bones to Descensus Facilis Averno, I think, or Descensus Averno Facilis. Anyway, okay, it's Latin. Word order matters. And they changed it. I'm like, why? When I was looking at it, I'm like, something's not right about that. I'm like, seriously, what was the point in changing the order of the words?
Yeah, I didn't even catch that.
I did, because I really liked that I don't know, that kind of stuck with me the first time I read the book. It was a little thing, but again, it was pointless, and it pissed me off. But, did they actually call the Silent Brother Jeremiah?
I don't think so.
See, that's another thing that annoys me, because he's very important later on.
Well, because I'm looking at the IMDb page and he's credited as Brother Jeremiah, but I can't remember if he was ever actually named.
But yeah, overall, I thought the City of Bones portion of the movie was strong and very well done. It's all the other parts that really annoy me.
Yeah.
And okay, this is probably the one thing that annoyed me more than anything else.
I know where you're going.
The biggest spoiler for people who haven't read the books. And that's in the book.
Yeah.
First, you find out that Valentine is Clary's father.
Mm-hmm.
And Clary's all, no, he's not my father, yada yada. Well, then Valentine pops up in the Institute, kidnaps Jace. Well, when Clary finds him, when they raid Valentine's island hideout, she finds Jace, and Jace is all like, my father's not dead. You don't understand, da 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 da. And you find out that Valentine has convinced Jace that he's Valentine's son. Now, spoiler alert, we warned you at the beginning. They're not really brother and sister. You don't know that. The audience in the books does not know that till I think the end of book 3.
Yeah, it's the middle to end of book 3, I think, because by book 4...
The beginning of book 4, they're
together. Yeah.
So, but in the movie, Valentine's in the library talking to Hodge, and Hodge is like, why don't you lie to them and tell them they're brother and sister? And I'm like, you just ruined the books for the people who haven't read them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
That part of the plot is so much stronger if the audience is unaware that it's not true.
Well, yeah, because that makes it all the more uncomfortable. And this is the only reason I can think of that they changed it in the first place, was because maybe it was... I mean, how many movies do you see where incest is a main plot point? Not very many. So maybe it was something, I don't know if the censors or whatever, but that was going to cause a problem. So they wanted it up front that they are not really brother and sister. That's going to be something.
It's not any worse than Luke and Leia.
Well, yeah, but Luke and Leia were never together.
No, but they kissed.
Yeah, that wasn't a real kiss. That was not a kiss like a passionate I'm in love with you kiss. That was a kiss. I'm going to kiss this other guy to piss that other guy off. Totally different.
Yeah, but it still happened. And this,
it was funny too.
Yeah, it was. But still, I mean, it's no worse to me than that. And I'm like, okay, it's going to come out. You're going to reveal that they're not really related eventually. And I
didn't say that I agreed with the decision. I'm just saying that was the only reason that I could think of why they decided not to do it.
But, I mean...
Because the kiss that was in the greenhouse, that was a serious kiss. I mean, that was a serious makeout session there.
Yeah. But, I mean,
and then you find out that you did that with your sister, you're like, ew.
Yeah, well, my point is, they didn't know they were related when they did that. So it doesn't count.
I know. I'm, like I said, I'm on your side. I understand.
But I mean, I was like, not only is that plot line stronger if the audience doesn't know, I'm like, what about all the people who have never read the book, who are going to go see this movie, and after they see the movie, they're going to think, oh, I'm going to read the book. And when they get to that part, they're going to be like, oh, well, they're not really brother and sister, and it's just going to ruin the tension. Yeah,
because that was such a big source of tension, because you could tell that they still had these feelings for one another, but it was tainted by that this is so wrong feeling. Yeah. Which in the later books, when Sebastian, who's not really Sebastian, shows up, and Clary feels like there's something really wrong there, but she can't figure out what it is, and then that's really creepy because that actually is her brother. Ugh. Anyway, yeah. But here's another question that I had, because it hasn't even been that long since I read the books, but I still can't remember. I read too much. This is part of the problem. You can't remember the finite details.
Right.
But when Jace was growing up, and he was being raised by his father, Michael Wayland.
Right.
Michael Wayland was actually Valentine in hiding. Yes? Because he killed Michael Wayland and took his place. So basically, Valentine is the one that raised Jace.
In the first book, that's not really made clear.
I'm not saying in the first book. I'm saying in the series. That's what happened. Valentine was the one that raised Jace.
I'm not entirely sure because I don't really remember either. Because it's not in the first. I mean, that's the story he tells in the first book. He tells him, I killed your father. I was the one who raised you. And the fact that he knows things like about the Falcon, I would say that's probably true.
Because that's what I thought it was. Because then when Valentine faked his death, he used Michael Whalen's body to pretend to be his body. I thought. And because that was another thing, because in the book, when Jace is trying to convince Clary that to go with Valentine, or when after he's been kidnapped, like Jace recognizes Valentine.
Yeah.
He recognizes that man as his father, and that's why Jace is really easily convinced that they are brother and sister, because we know that Valentine is Clary's father. And now he's realizing that Valentine had pretended to be Michael Whalen.
I also love how he explains the ring, Jace's ring, which he says is, the Whalen family. And in the book, Valentine's like, did you not think it was odd that the symbol for a family, the Whalen family, would be a falling star when it's perfect for the Morgensterns? Because Morgenstern means morning star.
Right.
So yeah, they left out a lot of stuff I thought should have been in there, but I'm pretty sure he did raise Jace.
See, that's what I was thinking, because when Jace actually meets him, he knows that that's his father, or he thinks it's his father, because he had switched the two of them, because he was actually raising Jonathan, who he had put demon blood into, right? And Jace thinks that he's the one that has demon blood, but he doesn't, because he was another experiment. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all in later books.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because that was another thing that I didn't understand, because I'm like, no, Jace should recognize Valentine. Valentine shouldn't have to say, "Hey, dude, guess what? I'm your dad." Yeah. And then Jace would automatically believe that. Because I was like, no, he raised Jace. That's why Jace recognizes him. That's why Jace is so conflicted about fighting against this man, because now that he knows that that's his dad, or he thinks that he knows that that's his dad, he's saying he's not sure, because, well, maybe he was right. Or in any case, I can't fight against my dad now that he's back, because I thought he was dead. Whereas Clary never had that loyalty.
Right.
As soon as she found out who her father really was, she was more afraid that he was doing something to her mother, and she never had any loyalty to him whatsoever. But Jace had that conflict because he saw him as his dad, like his real dad.
Even though he chose Clary in the end, but again, we leave that out of the movie.
Well, sure, because that would be too difficult to tell, the actual story.
There was so much potential. This movie could have been fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But the movie makers just sort of missed the mark. Because, and like I said, after the whole Valentine shows up and talks to Jace in his growling, loud, yelling voice, which was nothing like I thought it should be.
No.
He stabs all of these spears and stuff into the floor and makes this pentagram and lets these demons into the Institute. I mean, they completely fabricated this.
Yeah.
And, he tells Hodge that it's not a curse, the fear's all in his head, yada yada. But then Hodge comes back and saves the day.
Which was weird.
Yeah, what? Where did that come from?
I don't know.
And I don't know. I just...
And why did Isabel have a flamethrower?
I don't know. Okay. A Shadowhunter flamethrower because it was covered in runes.
Well, I mean, that's kind of cool, but, it's still really weird. And, while she has the flamethrower, who's following behind her and helping her, and she's, depending on him to help her? Simon? Yeah, that makes sense. What?
And they completely left out Simon getting to be a badass.
Yeah.
And shooting the arrow through the skylight and saving all their asses.
Yeah, okay, and then when he was standing outside Madame Dorothea's, and Clary's, at the window, banging on the window, screaming, help us, help us, help us, and he's just standing there what do I do?
Yeah!
What do you... Move faster, dude, okay? Come on.
Yeah, I just, oh. Like I said, I can understand they change things. Some things have to be changed. And if there's a reason for those changes, that's
Well,
fine.
okay, there is a difference between making changes and condensing things.
Yes.
They did not condense things, they changed things all to pieces. Again, I don't understand how Cassie Clare was so okay with everything.
I don't either.
Unless I mean, she can't come out and say, oh man, this movie's gonna suck. I mean, I guess that's probably not the best of tactics to do when you're trying to get a film studio to make the rest of your books into movies. But still, the whole time, like and this is why I was so hopeful because the whole time on Twitter and I guess on Tumblr too, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not on there. I mean, she was just raving about everything and just, this is amazing and this is just how I imagined it. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, what? What was just like you imagined it? Because it's nothing like what you actually put in the book.
Right.
It,
I mean, I'm sorry, but if I were an author and my book had been optioned and they did this with the first one, I would tell them to stick it in their ear about making more. Because if you can't at least keep to the spirit of what I wrote, then there's no point in making the movies.
yeah.
Because what the movie you made bears only a passing resemblance with the book I wrote. I mean, the characters' names are the same.
Yeah, and the thing was that after a certain period of time when I'm sitting in the movie theater, I basically said to myself, okay, this is fan fiction, and
Yeah.
I'm going to continue watching it as such. And once I did that, I stopped getting angry, for the most part,
I mean, there was
because like I said,
it was
it's just it bore a passing resemblance to the book, but not much. And like you said, there was so much potential. And the thing that's really making me frustrated is all of the people who now are saying, "Oh, well, this is just like another Twilight ripoff."
yeah.
No, it's not. Okay?
It's
The
nothing like
the
Twilight.
book is 100 times better than
Yes.
Twilight.
So
There's
much.
personality and character development. I mean, in the Twilight books, well, okay, not my main. There's a whole bunch of complaints I have with those books, but one of the main problems is that the characters have to go through like a change. They have to go through a character arc that makes them different from how they were when they first started out. Nobody changes at all. Everybody stays as insignificant and as self-centered as they were in the beginning.
Right.
Bella starts off as a, whiny, self-centered little brat, and she ends up at the end of 4 books a whiny, self-centered little brat. She just now happens to be a vampire and a mother.
Yep.
Woohoo! But as far as like character change, nothing. Edward doesn't change a single bit, not even a little
But
bit.
he's so perfect.
Yeah. So, but the Mortal Instruments, there's character development and there's actual storylines that go somewhere and doesn't like lead up to something and then stop.
I mean, Clary goes from being a mundane to finding out she's a shadow hunter and dealing with that. Jace has to learn how to let someone love him, which is hard for Jace to do. And, Alec has the whole coming out thing.
Mhm.
Isabel has to deal with the fact that she falls in love with Simon. I mean, all of them get some kind of character development. Simon becomes a vampire, and
But he's a different vampire and he's trying desperately to hang on to his human life while everything else is going on. And I think part of it is because there is sort of a love triangle and there's supernatural elements, and as soon as people see that, they're like, "Oh, well, okay, there you go." But the reason that people are saying that is because pretty much everybody trashes the Twilight movies because they're so bad. I'm only saying this by reputation because I've never actually seen one. But
I have. And let me just tell you, the movies are so much worse than the books.
oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding. I semi enjoyed the books. I don't like the movies. They completely changed characters. I mean, movie Edward is a completely different person. He's even easier to hate.
Wow. Okay. But see, and that's just it, because of all of the changes and because they've just like flattened all of the things that made the book so exciting. It's easy for people, especially people who haven't read the book, to make that comparison.
True.
And every time that I saw that, and I saw it a lot, and again, mostly from people who don't know anything about the book. And there's going to be a lot of people who go see the movie that know nothing about the book, just because that's the way it always is.
Right.
It's a lot easier to dedicate a couple hours to go see a movie than it is to spend, a week or so reading a book, or, 2 days if it's one of us. But, it's much less of a commitment. And the fact that they can even make that comparison just makes me so sad.
Because, like I said,
It shouldn't be.
This could have been the next Harry Potter or the next Lord of the Rings, had it been done right.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's going to be 6 books in the Mortal Instruments by the time she's done.
Mm-hmm.
5 of them are already out. This could have been the next Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Easily. This could have been our post-Potter recovery movies.
Yeah.
But they completely missed the mark. They aren't even on the dartboard.
Yeah.
I'm not talking they just missed bullseye. They completely missed the dartboard with this one. And it makes me so sad. Because I love these books so much. And it's hard. I was hoping for a movie that was really, really good, that kept the spirit of the books, that I could be like, look, these books are awesome. If you don't want to read the book, watch this movie and you'll understand why I love it so much. But I can't do that.
Right.
With this. It's like, no. Don't watch that or you won't get it at all. I mean, I miss Jace. Because I fell madly in love with Jace. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, I'm just like, no, sorry. I'll pass on that one.
Yeah.
But book Jace, I would take him in a heartbeat. Because I remember at the end with the whole Clary and Jace brother and sister thing, I'm like, that's okay. That means I can have him.
Yeah.
I was like, Clary can back off. Jace can be mine. And, of course, talking about Jace reminds me, I'm annoyed about his eye color. I know you don't really get into the, most of the physical characteristic things, but Jace's eye color is kind of like Harry Potter's eye color.
He has his mother's eyes?
Well, no, it's kind of like that, but it's talked about so much in the book. About Jace's golden eyes. They're blue!
That's something I just didn't really pay attention to.
I mean, Clary talks about Jace's golden eyes the first time she sees him, and it's mentioned so many times about his eyes and his golden eyes and da-da-da, and I'm like, and they're blue. What the crap? I'm like, Kim, is there no room on the budget for a pair of contacts?
Guess not.
The little things annoy me.
Yeah. See, the little things may have annoyed me, except that there were way too many big things.
Yeah, they kind of get lost.
I would have forgiven the little things if they had just gotten the big things right.
This is true. They wouldn't bother me so much if I had, more than just the City of Bones section.
Like if they had gotten the whole, for example, if they had taken the whole Jason Clary brother and sister subplot and done it properly and given us a Valentine that was actually Valentine, I wouldn't have cared what Jace's eye color was.
Right. I mean, yeah, Valentine is our villain, but he doesn't, even in the book, you don't know that for sure.
No, because the reason that you don't know that is because everything that he says and the way that he says it sounds so reasonable. And when he starts talking about the clave and the way things were done, you think maybe he has been the one that's wronged. Maybe they do need to listen to him before it's too late. You have a sense of that. Now, it's only in flickers because part of it's because Clary's conflicted because she doesn't know much about all of the history. So the way he says it and just his whole appearance and approach is so confident and so measured and so just calm about it. This is the way it is. You don't understand. And even a couple times he's like, I need your help to do this because we have to make sure that everything's put back right. And there's a part where you sit there and you think maybe he is right.
maybe the Clave is the bad guy
Because
here.
we've seen twists like that. And we also find out, I mean, in the second book, or maybe it's the third, I don't remember. Anyway, but we find out that the Clave is also very flawed. And
Yes.
again, you're sitting there wondering, well, maybe Valentine's right. Maybe something does need to be done about this. There is absolutely no way that anybody is going to identify with movie Valentine because he is like the identified bad guy. You could have stamped it on his forehead.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that to the bad guy, you lose a whole layer of complexity to the story.
Right.
Because you're never going to say, maybe that guy's right. Why? Because he's a freaking lunatic.
Right. They made him, which, I mean, Valentine was a sociopath.
But the thing about sociopaths is because you can't always tell that they're sociopaths.
Exactly. You can't always tell that they're crazy.
Yeah, because they're so good at hiding it.
They just made him into a violent psychopath.
Yeah.
There is a difference between a sociopath and a psychopath.
It's the wrong path, people. In so many ways, it's the wrong path.
Yeah. I mean, and, little small incidental things. Simon didn't get turned into a rat.
No.
Church wasn't in the institute.
I missed church.
Me too. Cassandra Clare said he was going to be in the next one, though.
Oh, good.
Let's just hope they, drastically improve some other things.
Yeah.
In the next one. Let's hope they give me an explanation of Shadowhunters and the Mortal Instruments. And, like I said, it was the things that made no sense, like the 5-dimensional door that was supposed to be in Dorothea's apartment. Instead, we put a portal in the Institute.
Yeah.
Instead of Valentine being on Blackwell Island, or Roosevelt, it's Roosevelt Island. But it was originally Blackwell Island because it was originally belonged to Shadowhunters.
Mm-hmm.
And Valentine was basically inhabiting an old mental institution. How apropos.
Right.
And, and the werewolf that Clary threw the knife at was not Luke, it was Alaric. But anyway, I could have overlooked that. That was one of those that I don't care.
Well, once they have fur on, how can you tell who's who anyway?
Yeah, but in the book, Alaric tells her, she apologizes to him for throwing a knife at him, and he's like, "Don't, it was a well-placed throw."
Yeah.
But, they leave out the whole thing about Luke and Valentine giving Luke a knife and telling him to kill himself after he was turned into a werewolf, and they leave all of that out, which is not really important except for it explains partly why Luke was always following Jocelyn.
Right.
A lot of that backstory about why Luke was there, and the only indication they give us of that relationship between Luke and Jocelyn is Clary says something to her mother about stringing Luke along.
Right.
So, I mean, but in the book, it was it was made more obvious that Luke was into Jocelyn.
Mm-hmm.
We was flat out told that he was in love with her, and then she fell in love with Valentine.
Right.
So he stayed friends with her and all this stuff. So, I mean, there was a lot that I thought could have been put in had they left out some of this ridiculous stuff that they decided to fabricate.
Yeah. And that was a big part of it, because with all of the different things that they added, that just took up time. And if they had tried to put in all of the important stuff, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it was already a fairly long movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to go see it again now that I've reread the book. We were supposed to go last night, but everybody backed out on me. Holly and Jenny were supposed to go. Jenny said she didn't have the money. Holly's like, I really don't either. Let's just wait till next week. And I'm like, but we don't know if I will have a day off the same time as you do next week.
Yeah, all these things you have to worry about now that you're a working girl.
Yeah, I have a job. I actually have to worry about whether or not I have to work.
Okay, this is funny, just because of what you said earlier. I'm on IMDb, and I'm just, like, looking through things about the different actors, and I'm on a Lily Collins biography. Number one, I didn't realize that she was Phil Collins' daughter. Had no idea. She looks nothing like him. And one of the things that they have listed under her trademark, thick, defined eyebrows.
God, somebody needs to talk about her eyebrows. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of overly tweezed or waxed eyebrows and these little thin ones that you basically. I don't like that either. What's wrong with just normal eyebrows? Her eyebrows really bugged me. Like I said, I think it was more the fact that they didn't match her hair.
Mm.
Which I know eyebrows are not exactly the same shade as your hair anyway, because, I mean, mine are a little bit darker than my hair color. But they should have at least added a little bit of reddish tint to her eyebrows. It would have made it a little less jarring, maybe.
Mm.
Granted, that's not nearly as bad as Thranduil's eyebrows in The Hobbit.
I don't know. They didn't bother me. They didn't bother me. Although this is interesting. One of her first auditions was for Twilight when she auditioned for Bella Swan.
You know, I almost wish she'd have got it.
How funny is that?
Because, you know, maybe she could have done something with... Cause, okay, look, actually, no. Kristen Stewart was probably perfect for Bella because she is Bella. She has no personality.
Yep. That's just funny. I can't believe she's Phil Collins' daughter.
I thought you knew that.
No, but she's so pretty.
Well, you know, when you said she looks nothing like him, I'm like, we should probably be thankful.
Well, yeah, because, she has a whole bunch of pictures, and one of them I was like, who's that guy standing next to her? And it was like, oh, that's Phil Collins. And you look at it, okay, he's getting older, you know, it happens. But I was like, wait a second, Collins, huh? Okay. No, they're related. Okay. That's just crazy. All right. Sorry. Tangent.
But yeah, I hope the people who made these movies listen to people like us before they make the next one.
Well, considering the fact I think they've actually gotten quite a lot of negative backlash.
From book fans?
From everybody.
Well, I mean, if you haven't read the book, really, I mean, there's not that much to complain about.
Okay, it's at 12% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, apparently there is.
That's just sad.
They need to step up their game if they're going to make more of these.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure their opening weekend probably made a decent amount of money because everybody was so excited that had read the books and we went and gave them our money.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, it's going to be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, some of these, I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, and some of these are just, like, brutal.
Well, you know, we were being kind of brutal, too.
Well, I know, but see, the difference is, I mean, I'm looking at some of the critics here where they have just, like, the little tagline for the whole review. And, I mean, we know what potential was there. I'm sure that they probably don't. But, like, one of them says, The Mortal Instruments plays like a scary movie parody.
Wow.
This desperate Twilight wannabe hits more than its own share of clunky notes.
Yeah, see, I just don't think the comparisons to Twilight are fair.
I don't either. I mean, I don't even see one good review here. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, they definitely need to step up their game then.
If the second one gets made. I mean,
yeah.
I think they're in pre-production now, but
with reviews like that, it may not.
Well, I mean, if it makes a decent amount of money, they might, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I guess so. We should probably also, you know, shut up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we would be interested to hear what other people have thought about this, whether you've read the books or not. I mean, maybe not reading the book will help. I actually told somebody that because they mentioned on my blog that they were wanting to reread the book because they hadn't read the book in a while and they were wanting to reread the book before seeing the movie. And I was like, you might want to rethink that. See the movie first. And then...
It doesn't matter. See the movie first and then reread the book. You're still going to get pissed off because I did.
Well, fair enough. Well, she actually, this particular person didn't sound like they were a big fan of the book the first time around, so maybe they wouldn't care. I don't know.
This is true.
But we would definitely like to hear... I mean, maybe there are some things that you liked better than we did, or some other things that really just torqued you off. And, you know, maybe some of our ideas are wrong and you want to argue with us. That's fine. We're up for it. We still stand by our review here, but you know, if you thought differently about certain things, let us know. You can email us, bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us. We are at BibAnonPodcast. or you can leave us comments over on our official website, which is www.bibliophiles-anonymous.com. Now, next week, we have an ARC from NetGalley, another one, which is exciting. We will be reviewing The Bones of Paris by Laurie R. King. So that is a brand new book. I'm not sure when it is coming out. Let me see if I can find out really quick.
Oh, there's also a thread on the Tavern for the Mortal Instruments movie.
Oh, yes. So check that out as well.
Seems like it comes out in September.
I want to say it might be like the first week in September. Okay, it's coming out September 10th.
Okay.
So that will be next week when you will hear from us on that one. And it's actually the second book in a series, but from what I can tell, it looks like a lot of the books in the series are standalone, because the little blurb on this one doesn't look like it relates to anything on the blurb to the supposed first book in the series, so I think we're pretty safe.
Maybe. Let's hope so.
We'll find out. We'll let you know. And if we're completely confused, then our review will be read the first one first.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us today.
Yep. Maybe you can edit out my sneezing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had to edit out my own sneezing last week, so it's all good. I'm getting good at it. But anyway, be sure to let us know what you thought of the Mortal Instruments, and we will see you next week.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.